talk about the VOD and the silver screen. Kevin and Tom and Joe know all there is to know, from masterpieces to deep fried tacos. And if the movie sucks, you might hear them say, there's no telling where the guys will take you. Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you. Better watch out, it's gonna ruin the plot. Real spoilers. Real spoilers. Real spoilers.
Broadcasting from the lush but not lavish studios located in the basement of the O'Keefe Institute for Advanced Film Snarkitude, this is Real Spoilers, episode 803, Twisteroonies.
The sequel to the Chubby Checker song.
This is even a sequel.
I don't know what this is.
Well, this is definitely a reboot.
Absolutely.
I mean,
that's the only thing it can
plot
be.
point by plot point. I mean, I would say remake, but they change enough to where it's different. But it's like it's a sequel in the sense of like an Airplane 2 or something, where it's just the same.
It's definitely not a
But
requel.
Airplane 2, though, had the same cast. Robert Hayes is back. Julia
Right.
Haggerty is back.
Well, no, but I just mean like this
Leslie
is
Nielsen, I think, was back.
This is like a VHS sequel to where it's like the same movie, but
It's, a
it's
sci-fi
like
sequel.
War Games 2.
there you go, where they're just
There's
doing.
a War Games 2?
Yeah, like a direct-to-video sequel
Oh.
where it's, yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm going
From
with
Dusk Till Dawn
No,
2 and
now we're
3.
talking.
Yeah.
I'm going with soft reboot, and there's clues that it exists in the same universe, but you have to be hunting for them.
There's one big one.
Essentially, well, I don't know about that. We'll see.
That's what
No, it's not that. So there's
really?
there's more clues.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
But
I
no
would say-
one would notice them. Like, oh my god, it's the connection to the.
I
No,
just
it's not
watched
like that.
I just
I did
rewatched
too.
the first one.
Yeah.
So okay.
Well, let's go around the table.
This is Joe.
This is Kevin.
And this is Tom. Quick shameless plugs. Don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeart, wherever you find a podcast. You can find us while you're there. Be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave us a review. Super helpful. Greatly appreciated. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group. It is called the League of Show Sharers because we are hoping you will share an episode. People who were kind enough to share an episode last week include Chris Falls, Aaron Marlowe, Ryan Burdick, Glenn Cougar Mellon Brewer, Lane Levanway, Phil Timon, Tom Dowdy, Julianne Jordan, Ralph Tribble, Tammy Lynn Powers, Betts, Chris Magic Man, Gabriel Lugo, Dustin from Nerds at Night Gaming, Richard Krotzer, Heather Sachs, David Rojas, James Install, Geek to Me Radio, Nostalgia Cast, Jarpo, Mike and Oscar, Colby Mack, Spoiler Piece Theater, Ronnie Castle, In Session Film, Matt Naglia, Binge Movies, and Ryan Terry. So thank you very much for sharing an episode. Also, don't forget we have a Patreon, patreon.com/Real Spoilers, where for $5 a month you get all sorts of bonus content. We like you extra.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. And then you can also watch all of these over on YouTube at youtube.com
It's like, who are you waving at?
Real Spoilers.
Them.
Yeah, them.
So, okay.
Hi, Mom.
Twisters. Does your mom listen?
No.
I know my mom doesn't, but she's dead.
Oh.
But
My mom doesn't either. It's fine.
yeah, but like Crystal's parents have never listened or asked about the clip.
Oh, really?
My grandma listened to the episode on Killers of the Flower Moon. I thought. I think.
my
Or no,
God.
I'm sorry. Maybe it was either Oppenheimer or Killers of the
I was
Flower
like,
Moon.
oh, please have listened to Mother.
But my grandma listened to. I think it maybe was Oppenheimer, and she thought this is so professional. You guys do such a great job. I'm like, yeah, we're really. It's 800 episodes.
Go listen to our Priscilla episode.
Good thing she doesn't have a
listen
YouTube
to-
account.
Yeah,
Listen to
right.
50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah,
Grandma.
yeah.
But anyway, it's like, wow, if you actually listen to these things, it's like they're not half bad.
No, not half good either.
Right. That's what I mean. It's just half and
I don't
half.
know how the math works on that.
I know, right?
Not half of
that's a
either.
Muppet-
There's a
That's
gray
Muppets joke.
area, right? Because yeah, it's 40,
30% mediocre.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's how I describe my sex life. Yeah.
only 30%. Huh?
Yeah. There's a
Well,
whole other
yeah,
70% that's bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Though that's the 70% with other people.
That's right.
So I'm not even complaining yet.
Oh boy.
Have we ever had an existing IP movie have this little fan service? Like,
That's a good question.
Well-
I mean, there is practically none.
there's one big thing.
I tend to disagree only because every single archetype from the first movie is in this movie. Like, there is an ancillary character. That's the guy from the first one.
That's
though.
not
You know,
fan
know
service
that
as much
we-
as that's
lazy
playing to a
writing.
formula.
I don't know that you can call lazy writing fan service.
I
Like,
don't
hey, the first
know.
one was lazily written. We should do that
Fan
again.
service
Well-
is switching out Moira Tierney for Helen Hunt. That's fan service.
Yeah.
No, Maura
Right.
Tierney is replacing the ant from the first one. There's an ancillary character
Oh yeah. I'm
for
just saying,
every
I'm just
single.
saying, like, if you were to replace Moira Tierney with
If like she
Helen
shows up
Hunt,
and her mom is
Oh,
Helen
I see what
Hunt,
you're saying.
There's
your
fan
fan
service.
service.
But-
or
but-
if they get pulled over by a cop and that cop is Bill Paxton, who I know is dead.
Right,
but
right,
like
right.
you know, like that's fan service.
Yeah.
Like
I
the wink
see.
and it, like when Lee
Oh.
Major shows up in the post-credit scene of The Fall Guy.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
sure,
Because I'm thinking, because as I watch this movie, I'm like, this is really close to a remake of Twister. I mean, they're doing the exact
there's
same
there's
stuff.
some very subtle differences.
They
but
changed the story that, I'm in a university for a class study instead of I'm a tornado scientist, and they're using the same. The Dorothy machine is the same. They name it the same thing. The balls, the fan service is the balls and the Dorothy
the fan
look the
service
exact same.
is the machine, Dorothy machine.
So that's a fan service. But each character, again, let's go to Aunt Meg's house or whatever for a barbecue. Let's go to my mom's house for the best barbecue that people are talking about. Like, this is a remake more than a sequel.
Yes,
It's
I would.
its existence to me has mystified
I
me.
100% agree with
like,
you.
Twister was one of those movies that came out, it made money.
Had
It
one.
had a huge theme park ride, right? Like, there was a big experience.
It was not a no. It was so the theme. It had a theme park exhibit. I wouldn't really call it a ride.
But it wasn't like being in a tornado and stuff
Something
is
like that.
wind's blowing and stuff's messing up.
All I know is I did it 3 times and I have no recollection
Okay.
of it other than really grainy footage of Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt.
Okay.
And I also remember Universal built a ride out of it. That sounds like a big deal until you remember they did it in the 90s when they didn't have the rights to anything anybody cared about. And Twister was as close as
Okay.
it got.
Mm-hmm.
And like
Because I'm thinking, like, if you make a ride out of a movie, like, that's a big commitment to make a whole building.
you're a theme park desperate for IP is
That
what
makes
it
sense.
really meant.
Gotcha.
And so, like, their big ride, obviously Back to the Future was a big ride.
Yeah. Not now.
And an actual ride.
Gone now.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's
Oh,
stupid.
it's the Simpsons.
It's Simpsons now. They
I
just
stand.
the exact
Look,
same
man, I went
ride.
one time. 2 of my favorite movies of all time had rides.
Yeah.
And now they're both gone.
What was the other one?
Jaws.
Oh, Jaws.
You can go to California and get
That's
on
what
it.
we were in Florida.
Or you can go to like Hong Kong and you can go to Universal. There, they actually have the Jaws ride too.
That's
But
funny.
Twister and Universal Studios was just proof of how desperate they were.
Yeah.
But like the movie, like if this movie was a true hit, the original Twister, it wouldn't have been 30 years before we got it.
But now look
It's
at
not like people were like, we'd really like to make another one, but boy, that Bill Paxton's probably out of our price range.
We're
Yeah,
never
but-
going to be able to get Helen Hunt
But
back.
we're in such a different time, right? They are strip mining IP.
Clearly.
Strip mining.
Clearly. I think you're making my
Yeah.
point
Yeah.
is that like this thing exists because they're just running out of
This came out in a time where it was like they were back to doing the disaster
Right.
movies. It was
Volcano, Dante's
Peak, Armageddon, Twister,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
all of these giant special effects laden movie.
Yeah. I'll say the special effects in the original Twister are pretty good for the time period. The
That
tornadoes
cow's
look
pretty bad.
Yeah, well, I mean, but you got to get like there's certain things, but the weather stuff, the tornadoes, the bulk of it, it's like that looked pretty much.
Was that an Amblin movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you
I
can
was
tell
also-
it feels like
It does feel like
I also forgot like it took 3 studios to make this movie. It's Universal,
It was-
Warner Brothers, and Amblin.
Yeah.
I'm like, how did you need 3 studios to make a movie
I
about
saw
a
that.
tornado?
Wasn't that weird? Well, because like Spielberg's got the Universal deal,
right.
and then I guess Warner Brothers did, you know what I mean? It's like I think Universal and Amblin came together, and then Warner Brothers must have financed something or distributed it.
Weird. It's very
but you know what, to get into the movie though, I think that is the piece that's missing from this movie. If you go back and watch the original Twister with Bill Paxton, that movie feels like a Spielberg movie.
It does feel like it. It's fine.
But when they're doing the like City Slickers music, you know what I mean? When it's like that kind of music with the cowboy thing, there's excitement. You've got Philip Seymour Hoffman's character.
Yeah.
There's so many characters in that movie, and they're having fun. And this movie lacks that. And I think there's something missing to where this movie's so dour for most of it. And I don't mind movies that deal with contemplating regrets and feeling guilt and trauma.
How many people died in Twister?
How many people died?
Yeah.
I mean, quite a
Zero.
few. What are you talking about?
Like, from your main characters.
I mean, the bad guys die when they didn't kill him in the new one.
But they killed everybody else. They killed, like, in the beginning of this movie, when they introduce you to
like 5 people.
Yeah, and you're just like, okay,
kill
this is our
3 of
new
them.
team.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, I think they're
like,
trying to like
gone.
pull
That's
the rug out from
that's
under
the right. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
I mean, that's the trauma. That's that propels the character into her journey for this entire movie. And I think what they're trying to do, so you know, this is directed by Lee Isaac Chung, the director of Minari, which is a much quieter, more contemplative movie. And so, you know, they get a chance.
The first one directed by like Jan de Blanc.
Speed and Speed 2 director. Yep. So, but and I think there's a difference there too, right? You know, when you think of Speed and how exciting that is, but it really just takes place on a bus, right? And you think of Twisters and it's like, it's a tornado. Like, is that really that exciting? Like, I'm sure in person it'd be like, whoa, that's crazy. But like a movie about, oh, it's weather, right? But but the first one is exciting. Like, it's fun, right? You feel the excitement of them chasing.
I do think you are in like Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton and all of those.
Philip Seymour Hoffman, Jeremy Davies, and there's so many people, and Carrie Elways, and
but there's enough of those people
yeah.
that like you're invested in those characters.
That's what I'm saying.
And this one,
I'll say this: I saw Twister in the theater, and I never thought about it again.
Yeah, I think about that cow scene is kind of it. Like that's kind of the. There goes a cow. Well,
right.
I was kind of the same way though, but like the last time I watched Twister was VHS. That's seriously. I watched it on VHS. Always knew it was fun, but never had a love for it. Went back and watched it for this one. I'm like, this is fun. Instantly, you're just I was entertained during the new movie. It was fine. But when I go back and watch the original, and it's like, wow, they're making a fun disaster movie, right? It's more of a summer blockbuster, big dumb fun. Because at the end of the day, they're fighting a tornado. I that is the one thing I will give them credit for. Is in this one, it's not just let's try to capture data from a tornado. They're fighting a tornado. They are
treating
fighting
a tornado like it's a monster,
and they're taking it out. So I did. By the end of the movie, I'm like, okay, now this is just stupid enough to entertain, right? But that first one, seriously, if you go back, so you've never seen it since theaters?
No, I saw it when it came out, and I was just like, yeah, it's fine.
But after watching this one, seriously, sometime if you have time to kill, go back and watch it, and it's a fun movie. Like,
all I will say for this movie is. It has been a long time since I have been this bored at a movie.
It had moments where I was like, God damn, let's go.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Watch the first one. The pacing and the characters are so good in that first movie. It is boom, 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 boom. We're chasing a tornado. Let's go. Yeehaw. And the whole movie is the same two teams chasing a tornado.
I couldn't tell you the last time I've been this close to like, I think I should just leave.
Oh,
like,
really?
Not walking out in anger or like this is the worst movie I've ever seen, but more just like, yeah, I get it. Like I get it. Yeah. There's a tornado, and you guys are scientists, except science.
Right.
It's about your hillbilly heart.
Right.
Is how you really find a tornado, I guess. Yeah, like I wanted to walk out, like not in an angry way, but in a like. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I get what's going on. There's tornadoes, and
this is what happened. Okay, so I'm gonna say something here that you guys are gonna 100% relate to. This is how you guys probably felt during Eternals, right? You get a director of an art house, very slow, contemplative movie to direct a big action movie, and they're not gonna just Michael Bay the stuff up. They're gonna make a very thoughtful, contemplative movie, but you're kind of there for the tornado chasing. I loved Eternals, but I get, like, you know, you're talking about Chloe Zhao, the director.
I don't care if they're going to go that other direction, but then it needs to be interesting.
Yes.
I like the other thing too, I should say, is I actively hated every fucking character in this movie. I hated every one of them. I hated her like, I'm a quirky girl. Look at me, I'm just all wiggly and quirky. And then him
That's the girl from American Honey that you didn't like. You're talking about the Chasers, the YouTube.
The main actress.
You mean the main actress?
Oh, she's a quirky girl.
In the very beginning.
the flashbacks before she's been traumatized.
Because she's been right. I
it's
see
all
what
like,
you're
look
saying.
how quirky I am. I'm just a girl out here looking at the tornadoes.
I thought you were talking about like the
Tornadoes.
team of YouTube storm chasers is very much inspired by the Philip Seymour Hoffman.
They're all douchey too. Like they're each
I
one.
liked that
To a
team.
credit to the screenplay, each one has a different and unique reason
to be a douchebag.
want to punch him in the throat.
I liked the YouTube team. I mean, I thought that they were fun. I thought they were fine. They were really like Philip Seymour Hoffman's character.
Yeah.
They've basically taken that character and extrapolated that into that team of
The
people.
whole team of people, yeah.
I mean, it's a silly concept, but it's very
It's
modern.
not. So like,
where,
I will
like,
say though, it's
YouTube-
not that
No, I mean,
silly. Like I think
the
that
YouTube
there's-
thing
Yeah.
makes
Like,
sense.
that would
Like,
be
that's
what
absolutely
people
are,
right.
right?
Yeah. But I hated him.
which is wild, right?
I
Like
hated
because
and I like Glen Powell and things, but
He's
but
charismatic, but he just isn't.
he's
in this-
charismatic, but he's a douche.
Right. He's just not
And-
that likable in this movie.
Yeah,
I agree.
the only way it even comes close to working is because it's Glen Powell.
Right,
and
right,
like,
right.
and I hate this idea of like we're smarter than science. I'm like, oh Jesus Christ!
don't we get enough of that already?
That's the last thing
Oh,
we
no.
need right now.
I didn't
Yeah.
even make that connection.
We're not smarter than just
I mean, I think that her idea, the idea of,
But it's this. What is this? The slobs versus snobs. It's
Yeah,
the, versus
yeah.
the suits. It's the
but
same
also
old.
it is funny. Like you're watching it, and then as soon as they introduce, as soon as this character is in this, like, you know, the southern guy with the stupid bow tie thing, bolo tie or whatever that is. The one. So
Oh, the guy buying up real
the guy
estate.
buying the real estate.
Okay, so we should.
It's like
so
as
no-
soon as we see that guy, you're like, oh, your whole team are assholes.
as
Like-
soon as there was a team of corporate tornado
Yeah, that's it.
chasers, I knew that they
They're
were
the bad guys.
Here's the thing. I still don't understand what that. I don't know if you would call it a MacGuffin or whatever. What the hell is the team of corporate people trying to do? If you're a guy that's swooping in and buying up people's houses that were destroyed in tornadoes, you know what you'd do? Look at the news. You'd be on a flight. It would take you 4 hours, and you just buy the
You
houses.
don't
So I
need
think-
to
Why would-
chase tornadoes to find tornadoes.
That's the dumbest
Like,
thing. That is such a stupid plot device. And again, in a movie that maybe is trying to be bigger and dumber and funner, okay, that's goofy. But in this movie, where it seems talk about movies that are grounded and somewhat set in reality, what the hell was he trying to
So
do?
I think,
Why was he hiring
if
these
I
people?
remember right, the guy who was in Into the Heights and
Yeah.
the new Transformers
Anthony Ramos.
movie. Yeah.
Hamilton. He's in
Hamilton.
Hamilton.
Yeah.
I think what he says is that he's working for this company. This is his company, and he originally thought, if I can gather enough data on a tornado, I can provide that data to people in like the Midwest where they have, you know, it comes
Which
down
is
to like
the plot of the first movie.
It comes down to insurance. Like that's kind of what I was picking up on. Is like it's kind of an insurance, not a scheme, but like
I think he's
a
trying
way
to
to
like
sell insurance for
Point your mic down, Joe, a little bit. It needs to be at your mouth. There you go.
for insurance purposes, where he has all this data on like what a tornado can do.
But the company's using it to like buy up real estate when people are distressed.
Yes,
But if he's
it's-
using the
it's a-
data for insurance,
it's a fucking land scheme.
he's still a
from
bad guy
Superman.
because you know insurance doesn't want to pay out. If you're
Yeah.
helping insurance,
Well, they're gonna give you if there's. So it's funny that I make a a Superman joke because Superman is in this movie.
dude, I could not tell who he was the entire movie, and I just kept looking at him like, who? I go, is that Hayden Christensen?
Nope.
Who? You know, but I'm looking at him, I'm like, who is this guy? And then I look up IMDb,
Superman.
and then I watch the first movie. He looks just like Cary Elwes when he's young with the hat.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah.
That is perfect casting.
Yeah.
When Cary Elwes passes in the car in the first one for the first time, I go, oh, did they recast the same guy? Like it looks just like him.
Nope, it's Superman.
Perfect cast.
It's a land scheme, right? If these insurance companies are buying up this guy is buying up the land like Lex Luthor.
But he's not an insurance guy, right? He's just
Oh,
a
he's
good
a-
old
he's a-
Texas
he's an old-
investor.
but yeah.
Okay, but tornadoes famously hit the most rural, cheapest land that we have historically. I mean, there are obviously exceptions, but by and large, I mean, just the
Their
whole
town. Oh, look,
they hit the outskirts of town, like because there's more area for them to form,
Right.
And so where they're hitting, is already
The
cheap
same
property that kind of nobody really wants, or at least
Well, I
there's not a
think
lot of demand for.
From what I remember, is this guy wants to buy up the property at a low, because he's like, I will give you a cash offer right now.
I get it.
And that's
Joe,
the low.
I get it. Like what I'm telling you, I get what this movie is saying they're doing. What I'm saying is that in the real world,
It makes no
this
sense.
team
Oh, yeah,
would make no sense. Just see where the tornadoes hit, get on a little plane for an hour or drive there and offer them money for their houses. They don't need, that guy doesn't need any of this data.
And
you think good old boy needs some tornado data? He's just gonna
And most people have homeowners insurance.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like if you have a mortgage, you can't have a mortgage and not have homeowners
Right.
insurance. So the amount
Well,
of
I'm guessing these people have like owned their house for generations in the country. They probably don't even have a mortgage.
But most people still carry homeowners insurance.
Oh, yeah, totally.
You know
I
what I mean?
just-
So like the number of uninsured homes in America is
Sure.
pretty much
Pretty low.
So I don't, but yeah, it's either way too complex that we don't understand what they're doing. But like, I don't want to think about that in a Twisters movie, right? Like,
If it is way too complex for us to understand it, you've already missed
right.
the
That's
plot.
what I'm saying. This is a movie about tornadoes. So when they called it Twisters, I'm thinking, well, it's a direct sequel, and now there's two. Thinking like like Aliens, right?
Isn't there two in the first one? Isn't that kind of the plot point?
I think there is, because that one time when they're the radar and they're twisting and they're like, oh, we've got a double
sisters or something.
I think there is too. But anyway, so the point is, this movie is a soft reboot. I mean, it's almost a remake if they were to have a little bit more similar of a plot, but it essentially is retelling the same story from a modern take, right? They're adding the technology and all that, but essentially what Helen Hunt's trying to do in the first movie, and Bill Paxton before he left to be just a weatherman, what they were trying to do was they said you have like 5 minutes.
just a weatherman.
Isn't Jamie Gertz in that movie?
Now we're gonna get all sorts of
No.
shitty email from weathermen.
But he was, they were
I'm a
scientists.
meteorologist.
How
No,
dare
no.
you? I went to college for
But
this.
he was in the field chasing tornadoes, doing all this, and he left and became a weatherman. Playing it safe, and their marriage is falling
I think
apart.
Jamie Gertz is his fiance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, and that's the journalist character, right? The fish out of water,
Oh,
the one
yeah,
that's
yeah,
there in the mix that is getting,
I did like that guy.
Oh, he was great.
The journalist I thought was funny.
But it's the same
when
character,
when he
right?
runs off
Like-
in the field and just pukes.
Yeah.
After Glen Powell was like, "Oh no, we're not. What do you mean drive away? Like we're staying here." I like that.
But it's the same character, right?
Yes,
I mean, there's
it is.
Did you know Jamie Gertz is like a billionaire?
Really?
Why?
Yeah, she's
All
married-
the success of Lost Boys.
Yeah, the success of Square Pegs.
Oh, she's third billed on the first movie. Wow.
She was. Yeah, I mean, she was a big deal when that came out.
Yeah, but no, she's like her and her husband own like the Seattle Supersonics or something.
Oh,
And
really?
They just money.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Doesn't have to act anymore.
So in this,
Because she did. She kind of disappears.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just because she was just like, or it's also harder for actresses as they get older.
That's true.
Because I mean, yeah, she had a really good run.
Oh, yeah.
I think she won an Emmy for playing Gilda Radner.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
so this movie stars Daisy Edgar-Jones is Kate. She's the main character.
Who is not American and could not keep her accent to save her life. Like it kept dropping. And
Yeah.
here's the thing: is we've talked about this before. This character doesn't have to be
No,
American.
Not when you're a country girl growing
Doesn't
up on
have
a farm.
don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. She could be a girl from anywhere. Went to college. It came over in the United States.
But when we talk about this, I do believe this is the most example of dropping an accent.
Okay, then
she's
if you're
supposed to be a country girl from the Midwest. Like if you make her British, but she moved to go to school.
I don't know if she's British, but she's definitely not American. Because
But
she
you know
was
what I
on what was that? We talked about it with the Andrew Garfield cop.
She's born and raised in London.
Okay, so the Andrew Garfield cop show where he's the Mormon.
Oh, Under the Banner of
She's the
Heaven.
one that's murdered.
Oh, okay.
Spoilers.
She
No,
was
it's-
all,
no,
that's
she's-
the
it's the
pl-
it's the plot
premise
of the show.
It's- yeah, she was also in that Where the Crawdad Sings movie.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Right?
really bad, right?
No, I think that was actually did pretty well.
Did we review that?
I don't think so.
I don't remember. I know I saw it.
I
thought it
remember
was dumb.
So the movie starts out like we said. There's a team of 5 of them. She's doing like her thesis or
That
something.
other girl isn't McKenna Grace, is it?
No,
Okay.
I didn't. I couldn't tell them apart when the movie started. I honestly didn't know which one we were
The
following.
one has glasses, the other one doesn't.
Oh,
That's his-
thank you.
yeah.
Kiernan Shipka. I don't
okay.
know. who
One
she is.
dies.
Yeah.
The one.
Well, once they died, I figured it out. But when they were in the field and they were
Well done. See, this is This is why Kevin's a film
That's
critic.
exactly it.
It's for this sort of astute dissection.
Once they
of cinema.
killed the one, I figured out, that's the other one.
Yeah.
The point is, neither of them stood out enough for me to go. That's, I mean, it was just generic. But anyway, so you've got her and her team of 5. So they're going out for a school project where, again, she has this thesis that Dorothy can release these things in the atmosphere and they can basically like choke out a tornado and stop it.
So
right?
Anthony Ramos is the one with Dorothy. He's just trying to gather the data. She's the one with like the tubs of poly, whatever the fuck it was, that's going to choke out the tornado. So she's running her experiment with the liquid and stuff. He's running the one with Dorothy because they're running 2 different experiments at the same time.
They have to like triangulate it or something. Don't they?
I don't know.
So it's not Dorothy.
I was
so
already
You're
losing.
right. It is Dorothy. Anthony Ramos has the Dorothy 5.
But they're 2 and 2 together. They're doing 2 experiments together.
2 separate experiments together.
Got it.
Yes, you're right.
Okay,
I
so
had already lost him.
so she wants to kill the tornado. That's the point of it, right? Okay, things go terribly wrong. There's a tornado.
Can I tell you what I thought the plot of this was going to be?
What?
She falls in
Twister's
love
back. The son of the original Twister is back trying to kill them all.
Jaws 2 all over again.
She falls in love with the tornado.
The tornado.
Yeah.
I thought she was going to be the cause that tornado got so big. I thought that
I did too.
I
Katie
thought
said the same thing.
at
She
the
turned.
end,
She
I
goes.
thought
She made it worse.
She kicked it up.
Yes,
that's
and
what
I was
she
like,
fueled it.
no, that's not what happened.
That's what we were all thinking, yeah, because we're like, oh dang, and then she's feeling the guilt of causing because they expected it to be a
like
one,
an
whatever
F1 or F2 or something.
It's not F.
EF.
Right? Is it
used to be,
ES?
It used to be
EF?
F. No, it's
I thought
F.
they said EF.
It's EF.
EF.
EF. Okay.
I mean, the only reason Brock Lesnar's finishing move was the F5, and he like spins a guy in the air.
Oh, that's funny.
Like,
I see.
Those are tornadoes.
I thought you said F, not F. I didn't hear the E.
It is
so,
F.
So anyway, it's supposed to be a 1, and it ends up being a 5 or 3.
So
It's
but
way
it
bigger.
becomes
than,
bigger when the stuff gets in, like goes
but
up
coincidentally.
into it. Yeah,
Coincidentally.
completely.
It's bigger than they expected, so it starts picking people off, right? You know, you've got
What I did like about that is when the people get sucked in, it's quiet. Because it probably, you wouldn't hear anything. Like, you wouldn't hear them
Your
screaming.
ears are probably just, like,
oh, yeah.
muted
You'd
by
hear all
yeah.
the wind and all the thunder and everything. So I did think that was, like, a little eerie.
Oh, yeah.
Where it was just like, oh, that was just...
So
and they're
yeah,
gone.
so it picks off the nerdy guy that's with him. It picks up the other girl who's not the main character, and then her boyfriend at the time, right? They go under a bridge, similar to it's an overpass. Where in the first movie it's a bridge they go under, but he starts protecting her just like Bill Paxton protects Helen Hunt. But in this one, which I thought was a good head fake, though, right? He's covering her, stay under here, and he gets sucked away,
and he gone.
So now Anthony Ramos and Daisy Edgar-Jones are the final 2 from
and
this.
And at this point, they go their separate ways, right?
5 years later.
And then Daisy Edgar-Jones goes to the National Weather Service, and Anthony Ramos becomes a contractor to apparently be a hitman for...
By the way, if you like the National Weather Service, you should know that the Trump administration would like to shut it down.
Yes.
And privatize weather prediction,
which
in
is
the
just,
hands of the evil corporations that this movie depicts. So
it's pretty...
That's
I will tell
that's
you,
a true thing.
There's a lot in this movie where I was like, oh boy, this is the sound of freedom all over again.
Yeah.
Like this felt... I don't know what it was about it. Maybe it was coming off of the convention, but like it had this weird feel of
like I don't think it meant to.
Didn't absolutely
I don't
did
The
not.
director of this, there's no way.
There's no way. But it did kind of like the riding at the rodeo with the gal wearing like the American flag bikini.
But they're
Come
in
let
the
me show
Midwest.
you real America.
That's it. Yes,
Yeah.
But they
that's
are in
what
the
he-
mid. I mean, but they're in the Midwest.
You're
That's
not
what
wrong.
they do. Well, I know, but they're in Oklahoma. They're in
They're
like
in
the
the
rural.
Yeah, they're in
Midwest.
Oklahoma. They're not in the metropolitan state of Missouri.
No, but we live in St. Louis. I guarantee there are rodeos in rural Missouri.
oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
I'm just saying
I've
there's
booked rodeos.
There's
Right.
two.
My job.
There's 2 blue spots in Missouri.
Yes.
And
Right,
we
we're
are on.
in them,
We are
yeah.
on either side of the state. So
and even those ain't all that blue.
not that blue.
Yeah.
But the point is, I mean, if you're gonna have
You're totally.
they go have fun a night off from tornado chasing.
I don't
like-
disagree with you at all.
And I thought that was a kind of a fun, like, oh, here, let me, she's kind of like getting back to her roots, right? She grew up in this, but moved to New York to move to the Weather Service, and he doesn't know yet of her past, and he's like, here, let me take you out to have fun.
No, he knows at this point.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, because his buddy's like, he looked you up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But at first they don't know, but it's like, come to find out, well, she did grow up in the Midwest and she is accustomed to this stuff. So they have fun. But the thing with these tornadoes is, and it's kind of funny, it's like the first one too, it's like, how often do tornadoes form? It's like they just keep coming.
Well, I will say I did very minimal research, but like given the state of like our the weather, like I think that they were happening more often because of just like weird weather occurrences. And it's not like the ozone or now, global warming. It's just one of those weird things that started happening more often. Because
But it's just in the course
we
of-
got hit with one. What was that? 3 years ago? Like out on Earth's
right, but you're saying 3 years ago in this movie they happened, but there's like one
They're
a
happening
day, three a
very
day. It's just this movie's about twisters. You have to have twisters.
When they missed the first one, and the guy's like, "It's cool, we'll just get another one." I was like, "What do you mean we'll get another one?"
Right, that's what I mean. It's like in these movies, and the first one is not innocent of this too, but it's just like there are twisters constantly forming, and I'm like, I hear about them touching down, and then they're gone for quite a while. But
right.
Anyway, but so yeah, it's like they're like, oh, let's relax and go to the rodeo for a couple hours. Nope, another one.
Yeah,
is
here's
formed.
here's another F5
Let's go to the
tornado
right,
to destroy this town.
Like, is there no weather prediction? Like they're
Right.
it's just like within 3 minutes
It's just
it goes
yeah.
from a beautiful day to tornadoes.
Yeah, I don't think that's how that works.
Pretty sure it's not.
Pretty sure my phone goes off before.
Yes.
Yeah. So
At least they did show everybody's phone going off.
That is true.
Yeah.
that is true. Everybody's like, "Oh, look at that."
This also does kind of okay. So the first one feels very Spielberg-esque. We said it. It's Amblin, the music, the fun of it. It just feels like a kind of an adventure Amblin type thing. This movie to me lacks that, which I think really hurts it. But also, I feel like the stories are kind of taking from different Amblin movies. So this is kind of Jurassic Park 2 when Jeff Goldblum was attacked and almost killed by dinosaurs, and they take him back to Jurassic Park to try to, like, she was in this horrible incident, would be so traumatized. I just can't imagine asking anyone to go back into that. But it's the same thing.
But
come back.
I think
they
that,
asked Rambo to go back to Vietnam, Kevin.
oh,
yeah.
okay, well.
and he did.
And that's how we won the war.
Oh, well, and this is
He
how
found
she
all of the POWs.
All of them.
with that also
With the help of the Taliban.
weren't really a real thing. That was until the third
Oh,
one.
you're right. I'm
the
sorry.
third
I'm sorry.
one is
You're
when he teams up with Osama bin Laden.
That's right. Sorry,
Kevin, that's true.
Yeah,
Everything
was that
we're saying-
based on a true
no,
I know,
that
I
happens
know.
in that movie.
I know. I watched them all before we
Rambo
watched 5
3
or whatever.
partners
yeah.
with the Mujahideen.
I know.
which,
It's crazy.
which becomes the Taliban. Yeah.
Now
So-
we know how they
Also, one day go down the rabbit hole about the POW MIA campaign and how it's total bull. Like that's like,
Is it really?
yeah, it's documented. Like there's a whole Wikipedia entry about how that
Well.
came to be and how that. I mean, and like they reference like books and stuff.
Oh,
like,
okay,
it's,
okay.
It's crazy how like it's so much just
Interesting.
made up. I mean, I'm not saying nobody ever went missing in Vietnam, but it's not to the like this idea that there were hundreds or thousands of people over there still. Like it's just
Isn't
not
that weird? Isn't
true.
that the thing with John McCain? Like, wasn't he a POW?
But that was during Vietnam.
oh,
Like,
you mean like that they got left behind?
yeah, like when
I'm
people
with
are
you.
like
I'm
in the
with you.
80s, we still have people that no, we did.
Okay,
We did. Yeah.
Rambo disagrees.
Yeah.
But anyway,
yes, he does.
Anthony Ramos shows up and says, "Hey, I need you for a week. Can you just come help? You're the best at this. I've got this team."
You've got the
Come help
psychic
me out.
ability to find tornadoes.
Yeah, I know. It's very. And then that's another callback to the first movie when Bill Paxton is standing out there and he picks up some dirt off the ground and watches the way the wind blows it. That's her with the dandelion
Oh, is that what that is?
dropping the.
Oh.
In the first one, it's not so like magical. This one, they really play up.
Yeah,
the-
she's like, that storm cloud looks creepy. We'll go that way.
But there's stuff like that where like they are. When she shows up, they're like, "Welcome back," and she's like, "I'm not back." That's a Bill Paxton line from the first one.
She's
when he
also
shows up to the
dressed.
farm.
She's dressed just like Helen Hunt.
Yeah.
She's wearing the same like white tank top
Yeah.
with like khaki pants and boots.
There's like when you talk about paying homage, or it's not fan service with characters, but there are so many
It is.
ancillary.
It is wild how often they tried to get Helen Hunt to show her boobs, right?
Oh?
Like in As Good as It Gets.
Oh,
Right? She in that it's a pretty famous scene where she goes to see Jack Nicholson and she's wearing a white t-shirt and she is like come in from the rain and he like opens the door and she's there and like you can see everything and she like pulls her shirt out when trying not to be embarrassed. Twister, she's wearing a white tank top and she's running around in the rain and it's like what What are we doing? Like, why are we so obsessed with
90s.
What was that?
That's
It's the
also
90s.
true.
Exactly what we were doing.
Yeah.
We're selling movie tickets.
Yeah.
But it is like she has because this movie is so boring. Helen Hunt had a kind of a interesting career, right? Like she was Mad About You was insanely successful.
Yeah.
And then she spun that out into an acting to features
film career.
And then she just went away. I don't remember the last time I've seen Helen Hunt at all.
She was in the most recent season of Hacks.
Oh, was she really? As Helen Hunt or as
No, as a character.
Oh, well, because doesn't that show have like aren't the people that come on like real people? Like don't they play themselves? Am I making that up?
No, not typically.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought that's what that
Yeah.
was.
You're thinking of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Well, that's also
It's set against a showbiz backdrop. You know, I've always wondered about Curb Your Enthusiasm. If you already are known and they have you come on Curb but not play yourself,
Yeah.
is that an insult?
Oh,
right.
I'm not quite
It's like
famous
sometimes
enough to play
you're-
myself.
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
right,
that's
right.
interesting, isn't it?
But I just think like I just think she had a very interesting run. Like to me, they had that. There was that whole batch of like actresses in the mid to late '90s where it was like Penelope, who was the gal who
Penelope
was
Cruz?
No, there was another one. She was in Relic. She was in like, and then there was the gal who was.
Well, I mean, it's their own fault for aging.
I know. How dare you?
They knew the deal when they joined Hollywood.
But then there was the gal who was Wilma in the Flintstones. Who was that gal's name?
I have no idea.
That's what I'm saying. It's like
I've
they
never
were.
seen. I've never seen the Flintstones.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's very tongue in cheek. Like it's very. But like Helen Hunt is in that crew. I think where she had that. Hollywood wanted to make her a thing, and she was a thing for a cup of
She
coffee.
seems to be doing a lot of podcast voice work. I'm looking at her
Oh.
IMDb, and she's got like 3: Alethea, and then something called Solar, and then the Cinnamon Bear, a holiday.
You know
adventure.
why? Because you can do it from home in your pajamas.
That is also
Yeah,
Michael
You
Cera
know-
just said the same thing.
Is that
doing,
right?
Michael Cera's doing voice work because he records at his studio.
He started doing voice work.
Oh, what he started?
Oh, really?
He was Roly Poly Oly's little brother.
Right,
Oh.
that's right.
Yeah.
But so,
Did he
so
do the voice of Scott Pilgrim for the?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
they all did,
Oh, they
which
all
is
came
great.
back. That's
Which
I
is-
will
right.
say the dates on these is like 2021, 2021,
Oh, COVID.
So I'm
work,
like, it's probably COVID.
Oh.
But they did do the Mad About You reboot series, right?
They did.
Yeah.
The point is, she's working. Joe doesn't watch her work.
Yeah. She's just in
Sometimes
things that
we
aren't
think-
targeted to you.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
because she doesn't get her tank top wet in the
Yeah,
rain
that's
anymore,
right.
so
Yeah,
Joe isn't
right.
watching these
I don't care.
movies and shows. Anyway, back to this one. So he
It's like
gets
once
her.
she turned 40, I don't care.
He gets her to come out to the field, and so now, and I do like that they give you. There's a little bit more mystery as to who the villains are, right? Like,
Sure.
like they don't just throw it at you. So in Twister, the bad guys are, of course, the Carrie Elways, the corporate guys that are in there just trying to make money and stealing ideas and all this. Here you have the technology and guys, but at first you're not sure. It's like, well, Anthony Ramos is the head of this crew, so you think he's trying to do good stuff.
He talks about having kind of a altruistic
Yeah.
purpose, right? He's like, I just want to get the info on these things so that this doesn't happen to somebody else.
And I think you are led to believe that he really does want to help, but he is employed by a guy.
well,
that
he says
has
he's like, I had to
nefarious-
get, I had to
think
get money from somewhere.
He's a good guy in a bad company.
Right.
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
took the money because otherwise he wasn't going to. His company wouldn't survive, right?
Right.
So he unfortunately took the work that he could find, and it's this Texan guy or whatever that does look like a Texan oil type.
He does,
with a-
yeah. Was it
It's
bolo
not an
tie?
ascot, bolo tie. Is that what they're
Bolo
called?
tie
Yeah.
is what they're called, yeah.
Colonel Sanders. It is the kind of thing. Anyway, so they get to the field, and so now.
Colonel Sanders had a bolo tie, though, right? Because that was more of like
I think he had like
a
that
ribbon
like-
type tie.
Yes,
where
he had like the
Okay.
big
bolo
bow
ties
tie.
are the strings.
Okay.
Yeah, he had like that big like.
I think bolo ties
Slave owner
are
tie.
more of a southwestern thing,
Oh,
right?
I can see
it's
that.
more like Arizona, New Mexico,
Yes.
maybe parts of Texas where that is more
The
like
colonel
it's a slave owner. That's a southern tie.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I would agree with that
So,
completely.
we're talking about tie etiquette and different types
Should
of
tell you all
ties.
you need to know about this movie.
How good this movie was. This movie's screenplay reminds me of Dan Savage when people ask him for advice and they say, my partner wants me to dirty talk and I'm not good at dirty talk. Can you help me get better at dirty talk?
Uh-huh.
Dan Savage's advice, he's like, to get started, right? He's like, it's like conjugating a verb. Like you start by saying, I'm going to do this to you. And then while you're doing that to them, You say, I'm doing this to you. And then when it's over, then you say, I just did that
to you.
Right? And so that's a little tutorial for dirty talk,
Yeah,
right?
if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, but full credit, that's Dan said.
Sure.
This screenplay uses the same model.
Okay.
It's like, we're going to catch us a tornado. And then while they're catching a tornado, holy cow, we're catching a tornado. And then when they're done, I can't believe we just caught that tornado. And scene.
And you're not wrong.
Yeah.
I do think it is funny that the Glen Powell character, that because it is so believable that you'd have YouTubers chasing these tornadoes. I mean, I know there are some out there, but like this is like a real character. Like this guy is a personality, right? And they're riding into the tornado and hunkering down and shooting fireworks into it. But that's the kind of stupid stuff that some YouTubers do, right?
Oh.
So I did like how believable it is.
Oh,
that
you know
you'd
who walks
run-
out in a white T-shirt when it's raining? Glen Powell.
See?
That he walks in that last
movie's
scene.
woke.
I know. When he walks out of that house,
Woke America.
he's
Joe.
wearing the cowboy hat,
Oh, right.
and it's raining, and he's got the white T-shirt on.
See, this is the 2020s. We now have things for the ladies to go to the movies.
He stands in the rain just
Not
long enough.
all ladies.
Yeah.
I know.
And some men.
He's a
I know.
good-looking man.
and
but
some
it's-
in between.
That's right.
Of course, that's a given. But movies used to be so heavily
Oh, it was all about
female sex objects, and now it's like, okay, you can have that too. There's no problem, and there's something in the movie for everyone. But oh my God, we're so far afield here. I'm just trying
for
to
the
think.
best.
Okay, so anyway, just to lay out the characters, you have Glen Powell is the head of this YouTube show, and you have Brandon Padilla.
Well, the
and-
big one is the gal from Love Lies Bleeding.
I don't know about big, but Kate O'Brien is one
Kate
of them.
O'Brien, I feel like, is a pretty big name at this
She was
point.
in Star Wars and she was in Love. When I was watching this movie, I was thinking about Love Lies Bleeding, though. And I go,
Yeah,
that
you
is
were.
a really good movie.
'Cause I'd
When I
much
saw
rather
her,
watch that
I
again.
was like, this is really good.
If they're going to. She's your Wonder Woman.
She'd be great.
That's who you got to go for. And Glen
Right.
Powell's your Hal Jordan.
Kind of have that build and
Yeah, she's got. I mean, grow her hair out a little bit. She's good
yep,
to go.
I think so too. But anyway, so you have like I said, Brandon. Oh, not Padilla. Brandon Perea is Boone, who is kind of the Philip Seymour Hoffman character. Sasha Lanes from American Honey. She's the kind of like hippie-ish, kind of like
the
far
guy with
out.
the drone.
Yeah,
Got it.
And then I really liked that the scientist guy. His name is Tunde Abba.
He was like the most like out there, not out
His
there, but
character's
like
name is
out of
Dexter.
place.
I don't know, but to me, he seemed like a nerdy scientist. I'm like, that guy understood the assignment, right?
Yes,
He
I
kinda
agree
talked-
100%.
he
He had a very like flat accent, but he was very excited about whenever they found a storm.
Yeah.
But he was also significantly older than everybody.
Yeah,
So
but
that
he's
was
but he's like the nerdy, like older, like I've been doing these science theories for ages. I don't know.
Yeah.
I liked him, but but this whole crew works together on this YouTube program. I can't remember what it's called, but they've got catchphrases and they've
Tornado
got merchandise.
wranglers.
Sure, and that's their thing is like I'm wrangling a tornado.
Yeah.
that's their whole thing. And so when Anthony Ramos and our main characters show up, they're thrown into this and they show up. It's very much like in the first movie.
very much like the
They
first
all
movie.
come to the first thing because they're chasing the same tornadoes, and now it's like we got to compete. We're the not new agey, but like Tom said, it's like they're feeling it, right? It's not the science. Like we know how to just look at the tornadoes and get out to them, and they're always beating the sciencey guys to the punch.
But now the sciencey guys have
Now they have the
their
tornado whisperer,
weather wizard over
Right,
here
yeah.
and can figure it out. So I mean, and it is basically what's the main character's
Kate.
Kate screws up the first run, right? She gets freaked out. They have all the little
Yeah, she's
sensors.
freaking traumatized and should not be
Yeah,
anywhere
overall,
near a
She's so
tornado.
traumatized, she's not quirky anymore.
She's now flat.
Yeah.
I do think that if you were like a fun-loving person, though, and you got 3 of your best friends killed, you'd be pretty depressed, though. I do think that. I mean, I know that this is a little screenplay and like a little on the
For
nose,
sure, yeah.
but you
But
would be
also, like,
pretty sad. Like that is
They're
gonna
all
mess you
chasing
up.
tornadoes. It's not like any of them were like, I don't know that we should chase tornadoes
She should
today.
be sad
and
if
she
she
talked him
made the
into it.
tornado bigger.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
do think she roped her friends into it for her experiment. I don't necessarily think they cared. I mean, one was her boyfriend, one was her friend. Like, I don't think they were all tornado scientists. To me, at least, I think I read it as like, oh, I got my friends involved and they're going to help me on this, and they're there and they're excited. But like,
I don't know. They seem to all kind of have jobs.
yeah,
Yeah,
So, like,
oh, for
the
sure.
one guy
yeah.
had the one kid had the laptop and was running
Yeah.
around with it.
Maybe they're in the same class, so that's
Maybe.
true.
Yeah.
But either way, it doesn't matter. Like even people can feel this immense guilt even if they didn't cause the thing, but feel like I caused the thing, right? And so I just mean, I think that it's to show you, like, yeah, she used to be fun, and I know you're saying like quirky, like kind of like,
but the quirkiness was over the top. The quirkiness was irritating me before we had the tragedy. I was just like, why is she acting like this?
Can you suffer a massive tragedy so you will stop being so goddamn quirky?
Never been so happy to watch 3 people die.
oh my God.
I'm glad the person that you love the most in this world just got sucked up by a tornado so you can get your personality in check.
Correct.
It is a little weird. This, I did find, although, I'm trying to escape to the movies. I get it. It's a movie. These things exist. But when we've had so many tornado tragedies, I did feel a little pain and gainy about this, where it's you're supposed to be having a fun adventure, but there's people's lives and people are dying because of tornadoes.
I will say
more frequently now than ever, and it's
there's
a little
scene
weird.
that did hit me a little harder than I thought it was. Is when they're at that rodeo, and the tornado comes through. I think it's that one, or maybe it's the one before. Either way, they're interviewing this woman and she's holding this baby, and she's like, I can't believe I've lost, like the way she plays it, she's like, I can't believe I've lost everything.
Yeah.
And that one hit a little hard because we did have a tornado come through. Wow. It wasn't Earth City. Where's the paper?
Like Maryland Heights?
Yeah. There was a tornado like 2 or 3 years ago.
Paper. Or the what?
Isn't there like a
The old-timey paper.
Yeah, the paper factory. Isn't there like a
Dunder Mifflin?
But I think it is Maryland Heights.
One hit Sunset Hills.
Yeah.
That's been
down
about
south.
10
Yeah.
years or so,
Right.
10,
No,
12 years.
But we're hearing about them way more frequently, and so
Joplin, obviously.
Yeah.
Which is it's close to
close
here.
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just, there's something a little weird about, like, you're supposed to be, this is a fun summer movie, but the subject matter is a very real
hard.
thing.
I think where we are in 2024, it is harder to make disaster movies.
There's real
because we
disasters,
have disasters all the goddamn time.
And how do you think people feel? Again, I'm not trying to be like way over. I get it. It's a movie and all that. But I mean, people are probably seeing ads for this that just lost their home to a tornado or loved ones. It's just weird.
I will say this. When I put Twisters into the Google machine, like when I put in, I didn't stick around. I was like, was there a post-credit scene?
Not
They put
really.
in Twisters post-credit scene.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah.
It was just
first 2 hits were for newspapers in Oklahoma.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I think that for them, it seems like it's small town boy made good. Like they're happy.
Oh.
They're like, hey, our stories are being told. I like.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I get what you're saying, and I don't even necessarily disagree. But I also think for large swaths of the country, they don't get tornadoes. So
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, we live in tornado alleys, so we hear about them all the time.
It's no different than doing a volcano movie. The people in Hawaii might not like it, but
Yeah.
the rest
But
of
I
us
think
are
of like
just whatevs.
Skyscraper, right? Where it's like this,
Well, we're in Missouri. We don't have skyscrapers.
do not have skyscrapers.
Yeah.
But that one did seem just far enough out
Yeah.
that you're just like, all right, I can
Yeah.
deal with that. But Dante's Peak, where it's like, a volcano popped up in the middle of San Francisco.
Yeah.
Sure, why not? I will say Armageddon, I'm like, any day. Can we just wrap this up? Because Jesus, let's go.
Dude, I'm still isn't that the one that I hated? I had not seen it
Where they with Bruce
until I was
Willis,
an
where they
adult,
drill into
and
the.
I'm like, this is such a boring movie.
Well, I think that was
People
there
talked in the
another-
'90s. It was so fun and awesome, and I watched them like, this is a snooze.
That's a Jerry
fest.
Bruckheimer, Michael Bay.
I
think.
hated that movie.
Yeah.
because then he does Pearl Harbor, and then that one like that one tanks. But yeah,
I was just in Hawaii, and they'll claim every movie ever made there.
Right.
And maybe Pearl Harbor wasn't filmed there. I don't know, but they sure don't talk about it.
Oh, really?
They sure don't. I mean, they talk about Pearl Harbor.
Oh,
but not
sure,
the
sure.
movie.
Interesting.
Like, yeah.
I wonder why.
I just think because it's such a piece of.
Oh, the movie. Yeah, the
movie.
movie's terrible.
Yeah.
the movie's terrible.
Yeah.
It's Ben Affleck, who just was in garbage movie after garbage movie and was able to survive.
He is not good at picking scripts.
No, maybe the ones that he wrote.
He's a good director.
He's a good director. He's directed some good stuff.
Yeah.
But in terms of somebody putting a script in front of him,
it's got to be the money.
It's gotta be.
It's got to be hard to turn down when you.
For sure.
Here's $5 million.
That's the Kevin Smith joke. He was talking about paycheck. He's like, well, I know who got a paycheck.
Yeah. I mean, Eddie Murphy talks about that when, even at the time when they were he did 48 Hours.
Yeah.
And he did Trading Places.
Yeah.
And then he did Best Defense. And he was like, hey, man. He's like, They gave me the script, and I was like, I'm not doing that movie. And they're like, ooh, how much money?
Yeah, right.
It's like they offered a 22-year-old guy like $1 million for 6 weeks worth of work. I don't even know if it was 6
80s.
weeks in the 80s. Like,
Done.
because
it's got to be hard, and I know you got to think long term. But when that number's in front of your face,
and you
just
like,
think,
well, that's enough money where I don't ever have to do anything again.
Well, look at those Harry Potter kids.
Yeah.
Like those Harry Potter kids don't have to work.
No.
They're just doing it for fun now.
that's the cool thing, though, right? Like if you're successful enough and you get paid doing something that's a huge success, then you can pick projects like Elijah Wood's the same way.
Oh,
Daniel
big time.
Radcliffe, obviously.
The kid that played Ralph Weasley doesn't work.
Ron
Like-
Weasley. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
But he did the.
He did the M. Night Shyamalan.
I was
movie
going to
we
say
watched,
yeah, but that was like.
Why can't I think of that guy's name? I'm blanking on it now. Rupert Grint.
There he
Murdoch.
is. Yeah. Not that
No.
guy. But yeah, so I mean,
But plot wise, there's not a lot to
there
it.
really
right?
isn't.
So it's
Kate is finding her footing again. She's also completely enamored with Glen Powell, understandably.
Sure.
And they go.
I don't completely enamored
Yes,
with him.
she is into him the moment she sees him. She thinks he's a douchebag, but she's
But
immediately
she still wants to break off a piece
This
of
is-
that Kit Kat
that's
bar.
exactly
This is
right.
very rom-com, meet cute.
It is
it's
for
it's
sure.
enemies
Yes.
to lovers
Yeah,
type
right.
thing,
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's that typical thing, right?
Right. Glen
but she's
Powell-
not falling
Glen
head
Powell-
over heels from
No,
it.
no,
It's
no.
that they're both like,
It's
I
like
hate you.
She hates him, but
Yeah.
she still would like
To
him
jump
to
his
put
boat.
it in her.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Or on her.
Either way,
Yeah.
yeah, wherever you want.
But
to
he's
put it,
also
doesn't matter.
kind of like-
around her.
What's the male version of the manic pixie dream girl? Like he's just always saying the right thing and showing up at the right time. Like he's what she needs to get out of her funk.
That
right?
is
like
very.
isn't
That's
he the
very good. We need to come up with a name for that now and
Yeah.
trademark the.
yeah, but like he's just always doing the right thing. He's such a good guy. Like I know he seems like a jerk or whatever, but
Well,
like
they
he's
bait
really
and
a heart
switch
of
you, right?
gold.
They start off by like, look how sleazy these YouTubers are with all their merchandising, and then it's like,
Then you find out.
we're using it to
Feed these people.
to feed the homeless and rebuild their homes,
Right.
And then it's like, oh,
Well, that revelation happens real fast. She kind of like gives him a bunch of guff. She's like, "Oh yeah, these guys, the
and
bad
he's such a
guys."
saint that he won't even say. But here's what we're doing.
Right,
I,
it's
he
like-
goes, "I have a
He's like-
dog to find."
That's Joe's thing with the just say it.
Just say
the
it.
thing.
Yeah.
Like she's like, especially in a situation like that where she is busting your balls,
Right.
And
You're like,
all you gotta
then-
be is like, "I just
Yeah.
fed all these people."
That's not what we're doing at all. Yeah.
No,
You think
no. You have to. The reveal's coming later. Don't.
I
worry.
have to let someone else reveal
Yes.
it so the film goers know what a
Yeah.
sweetheart I am.
While I go save this dog.
Right.
But the pacing is really bad in this movie, is what it comes down to. Because again, watch the original Twister. Boom, they are off to the races. Tornado. Just fun action. Characters are crazy. They're playing, music through the loudspeakers.
Yeah.
It's a fun, adventurous movie.
It is that movie is very 1996.
But there's no reason that you can't make a fun movie anymore. I'm fine again with a slow burn contemplative movie, but we can also have fun action
Right.
movies, and I don't
That's
know
not
why.
what you go to Twisters for.
Yeah, right.
But this is like the BVS of Twister movies. Like it's darker
Oh,
and
okay.
dreary. You know what I mean? Like maybe your characters can be fun, not gloomy and dark and every. You know what I'm saying? If that, I don't know if that's a perfect comparison, but it's like let these characters have fun and be a little silly. This is an action summer blockbuster about tornadoes. You are fighting tornadoes. You're one step away from being Sharknado.
Yeah.
Like have some fun with it. And so I get that this director probably didn't want to do that type of movie.
Did
but
you get the
then-
trailer for Ice Twisters before this?
What? No.
It's
what
not.
is
It was at the
that?
Draft House, right? So they're showing like all of the
old movies.
Yeah,
I didn't.
yeah.
I didn't get that.
Oh,
time for
okay.
that.
They had a like a little
Ice Twister.
teaser clip, and it's basically Twisters, but they're like, "Why is it so cold?" And
Is
they're
that
just like,
what happened to the Asylum? Remember when they made parodies of every
Sure
movie?
do. Well,
did Blockbuster when that went out?
I think those the draw to the Asylum movies, right, was the cover art,
right, and they'd always be a
They
Blockbuster,
would
and the
always-
ones checked out, and you get the
and you would, and I think with the disillusion of like the video store, and
now
like,
you can look it up and be like,
well,
that's
also yeah, the draw of the cover box art.
Yeah.
isn't
hi,
there
honey, I
anymore.
rented you Ice Twisters.
I
That's
don't
the
think
one
you
want, right?
impulse rent in the same way.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely
People would
true.
go and they'd go there and they'd grab 5 or 6 movies and
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, throw that one on the pile.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
I'll go get Transmorphers.
Right.
Right.
There's more than meets the sky.
It's just, it reminded me, they may still exist and they're just on that VOD, whatever, but
I
they
think
used
they're probably
to be
on,
so
like,
big.
Sci-Fi
Every
or-
time a big movie released, remember, there
Yeah.
was a Transmorphers
There
to
was
go
like
with
a,
it. There was always a...
Man, what was the Alien versus Predator one? There was one that was Alien versus Predator, but they didn't, obviously they couldn't call it that.
Predator
but-
versus Alien.
Yeah, right. Just
What
flip
they
it
could
over.
do that.
Yeah, so they realize, our characters realize that the
Glen Powell's the good guy and Anthony Ramos is the bad guy, because when he goes into town, he's like talking to people about, oh, I have someone interested in buying your house.
poor Superman's like, here's your cash offer.
Yeah.
And man, he has a scene in this movie where I was like, did they just tell him to turn it up to 12?
Yeah.
Because he
He's
loses
evil.
his mind.
He's
like,
evil.
in that car. I was
Yeah.
like, good Lord. They realized that the formula they had for this thing in the beginning was wrong. So they just need more of it. They need more moisture. I was like, well,
So
I don't
here's
give
the
a
thing.
shit about
Her-
any of this.
But her formula was to stop an F1.
Sure.
And it ends up being an F3 or 4. It's a lot bigger. I don't really know. I know when they're at the weather station, they're like, oh, this is what an F5 is. I couldn't quite figure out if what they saw was a 5 or maybe
It was
a
an
3
F5.
or was it a 5?
Yeah.
200-mile-an-hour winds. Okay, but anyway, so her thing didn't work. So her and Glen Powell figure out, well, maybe you were right, but it was the wrong tornado. So we need to rerun the simulation. What would you need for a bigger one? Yada, yada, yada. They rebuild it. They get 5 times the amount of tubs of junk or whatever. And their plan is, we're going to go try to stop this
Right.
tornado now that we can.
There's one headed right for this town, and we got to stop it.
And meanwhile, she's fought with Anthony Ramos because she's like, you're evil. And he's like, I really wanted to help, but like I needed money. And, that whole thing. And
Yeah.
he kind of yells at her and he's like, you got all our friends killed.
Yeah, he does.
And he's like, oops, I didn't.
That was I like that a lot. Where he's like, "Oh yeah, well, all of our friends are dead."
And then
because of you."
immediately, they're
And he
just
was
like, oh. And he's
I
like,
gotta tell you- I gotta
don't
tell
walk
you, though.
away. And she's like, no, I'm stealing your car.
Yeah,
That was a
there's
pretty-
no coming back from that.
No, that's a bad
like that's
one.
that's
That's a-
your friendship is over.
That's
Yeah.
a bad
You know?
one. Yeah.
If this was a love triangle, it is no more.
Well, they do try to do that, right? Like, there's definitely moments with Anthony Ramos where he looks at her a certain way.
Oh, from the beginning of the movie.
And
Remember
it's-
when she drives away and he looks, Katie turns to me and she goes, oh, he loves her.
Oh.
She has a boyfriend, but like, you can tell he
right,
really
right,
likes
right.
her.
And I do. There's another scene here where when I think Anthony Ramos shows up
says
at the
it.
house, and Glen Powell is like there. He's like, "Oh, you're
Uh-huh.
hanging out with this guy," and, it's
then
like,
he also says
"You
some-
seen Glen Powell?" Like, yeah, I'm
But he
hanging
also
out-
you're not
you're
gonna
not
win
gonna-
that
yeah,
battle.
No,
But he also says something too, like there was a time where I would have done anything for you.
Yes.
Like in those 5
Yeah.
years when she went away or whatever, like I'm sure, they both had that loss and he was trying to comfort her, but like she wanted to run away. Right. Not saying she was wrong, but like her way to deal with it was to get away from it.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to kind of, the only other person that could understand deal with it. And she just was not interested in that. And yeah.
So yeah, the big scene is there's a tornado coming to this town, and
They go to
I hate this so much.
the drive-in movie theater.
no, they're going to the theater.
Because in the original movie, it's a drive-in movie theater, and then in this
Oh,
one,
is
they
it?
go
Oh,
to
you're
a
right,
movie
you're
theater.
right.
That's what I mean. This movie's a remake,
Yeah.
but all except for like it's not the same exact story.
You
and
hate this part
characters.
where they magically show up at the right place at the right time.
The hotel's first though. There's two things.
I hate the moral superiority of
Yeah.
the climax of this film, of this idea of like, we're not going to chase this tornado because we have to go to town to save these people. So if someone gets killed by an F2 or an F3 or an F4, well, the F stands for go fuck yourself. Right? It's like
There's your T-shirt.
But now we're going to stop chasing tornadoes because we're going to run into town and say, run this way, and people will listen to us. And you're chasing a tornado, so that makes you bad,
Right.
even though it's all we've done
This whole movie.
for the entirety of this movie.
Yeah,
Like-
that is a bit weird.
Like,
Yeah.
And also the fact that like the people with the tornado warnings and stuff like just wouldn't know what to do.
right?
I'm
Like,
not
okay,
saying
like when they run into town and they're like, run that, like people are in a panic.
people are just like,
Oh, total stranger. Because if
Yeah.
there's
Oh, total
if
stranger.
there's anything I know about rural America, it's that they love outsiders coming in and telling them what to do.
Well, also-
right, like there's like they all
total
have
chaos.
They all have phones. They live in rural Oklahoma.
They know where they're
You
gonna go.
think they've never seen a tornado
That's what I mean.
warning before?
When they're
they
playing-
don't need you assholes coming in here to say run this way.
It is-
as they are running that way.
It is funny. I have told one of the things that I grew up here, right? Grew up in the city. Even to this day, if I hear the sirens go off, I go to the front porch, be like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
I don't go to the basement.
I think the best line of the whole movie when the lady's like, 95% of the time these aren't true.
Oh, that's at the
and
hotel.
then we're like,
And
by
it's
the way,
true,
we're
and
gonna
she's
kill
right.
this gal.
Yeah, and then they're like acting like she's the idiot, but
Right.
honestly, the way that they do tornado warnings, I think is faulty. Like they'll tell they turn on if the tornado is in a neighboring county,
Right.
Then they turn on your sirens.
Yep.
And the
Boy Who
problem
Cried
is,
Wolf. We've all gotten used to it. Being
the
nowhere
problem
near.
is
Yeah.
if it's in the upper western corner of Jefferson County and you're in the lower eastern corner of St. Louis County, they'll turn on the sirens because those counties touch, and that's just a dumb way to do it.
Right.
And it absolutely incentivizes people to behave the way that lady does and ignore real danger.
But I do get safe than sorry. Like if the thing did move and then they didn't warn you, I mean, people would be in danger.
How much of a warning is it when it's wrong?
But if you always went to the basement, I mean, I'm just playing devil's advocate. I totally get what you're saying, but it doesn't hurt you to go to the basement, even if it's not necessary. They'd rather you just.
I'll go watch it.
But it's just human nature.
Yeah.
Eventually, people are like, especially sometimes you might get 2 in a day or 3 in a day, and you're just like, I've already done this.
The only time I ever was like, we had just brought my oldest home from the hospital. And there was a storm coming.
And you were like, I've done this before, and now it's really happening.
Right. And I remember standing on the front, like the sirens go off. Bella is, 4 days old. We're in the basement, and I was like, it's not that bad. Let's go look at it. And I walked out, to the front porch, and I saw it, and I saw the cloud. It looked like when the spaceship comes out in Independence Day, like that cloud
we said
formation.
A movie title. I really thought you were going.
No, in Independence
when
we see
the
the
when a spaceship comes out, like,
oh no,
803 episodes. All of a sudden, I let this slip.
Here comes the tinfoil.
You know what I'm talking about?
To a lot of aliens and airwaves.
That cloud formation when the ship pops out. That's what it looked like, and I was like,
nope.
I have never seen that before. I'm going to go back to the basement.
And Independence Day, they do the same thing. Get off the building. She's trying to get them. They're just staring up at it with signs, and it comes and blows them up.
But that was the only time where I was like, I should get out of here. Like, this is bad.
So before the theater, they go to a small town. There's a motel. The tornado's coming. They're trying to evacuate people. Yeah. That's Bill Paxton's son that's in the motel.
Oh, is it really?
The guy that dies in the car that goes up in the thing. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
What?
They kill Bill Paxton's son?
But Bill Paxton didn't die in a tornado.
I guess that's true.
It would be wrong if he died a certain way and they put him in that situation. But he got to die in a disaster movie that is a sequel to Dad's famous movie. So kind of cool.
You think it's his dad's famous movie? Most famous movie?
A famous movie of
What
his
do you think it is? Aliens?
Aliens is iconic, but I don't think that's his biggest. He's a small character in that.
Yeah, I don't think people think of that as
do you
a
think
Bill
he has
Paxton movie.
An iconic movie or just roles?
Jeez, the Terminator. The beginning of the Terminator.
Also not wrong. You're not wrong at all.
I always think of that
Stripes.
See, I was thinking Weird Science.
Weird Science, where he's the brother.
The guy who tries to sell him
he is.
weed and
Stripes. Yeah.
Weird Science is really good because he's a pretty memorable character. He's much like the Buzz character in Home Alone. It's like that same kind of.
Yeah.
I always think of that show that was so good, The Mormon Show.
Big Love.
Big Love.
That was such a freaking good show, and it had Harry Dean Stanton.
Oh,
that was a freaking phenomenal
That's a good
show.
show.
Was Jennifer Morrison on that show?
Chloe Sevigny.
Sevigny.
Is that how you say it?
I think it's Sevigny.
It used to be Savini.
That's how I think that's how everyone pronounced it, but I believe it's Sevigny.
Okay.
When she was in Kids, it was Savini.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
I know, right?
I'm old enough to remember when it went from Rico Kasich to Rico Kasich.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And we were always like, what?
And remember when Josh Brolin went to Josh Brolin?
No, none of us remember that.
Is
You remember
not
when
a
it's
thing that
just
occurred.
you?
It's not
It happened on this podcast. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, I think
that was the time America.
I think back to the Bill Paxton movie thing. I think it's got to be Twister because like he's been in bigger movies, but they're not Bill Paxton movies.
Right,
He's the lead character in
I mean, because
Twister.
he's in Titanic, right? But
He isn't.
Yeah.
I guess
what does he
he's
do in Titanic?
He's a James Cameron guy, though. They're buddies.
Yeah.
They were buddies.
Yeah.
What did he do in Titanic? I can't think of it.
he played the Titanic.
He was the ship.
Dang, he's good.
He was the
He was
iceberg.
really
Yeah.
good.
He was the ship and the iceberg.
Yeah.
But I love
It
Game
was like
Over,
a-
man. Game
It's
Over.
like an Eddie Murphy thing.
Yeah. Right.
I think that's his best line is Game Over. Game Over when he's just going nuts.
Oh, yeah,
Just going
yeah.
off on how terrible everything is.
But yeah, Apollo 13.
Yep.
Yeah.
True Lies. Like
I
he's been
see.
around.
I think
but
he's
those
great.
aren't
He's
Bill
great in
Paxton
True
movies,
Lies.
right?
No,
He didn't very much get the chance to top line a film.
Wasn't he in Streets of Fire as a small part? I think he's in Streets of Fire too.
I don't.
I know you love that movie.
I do. I'm pretty sure he's in that. Like he's a bartender or something. He's like in a very
Near Dark. I think Near Dark is super underrated. Nobody talks about that movie enough, and he plays a whack.
I totally forgot he was in Edge of
he
Tomorrow.
plays Clyde in Streets of Fire.
He's in Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, he's like the general or something.
Maybe. Yeah, it seems like yeah. That's a good movie.
But when he
Live, Die, Repeat.
Yeah.
Yep. So he's a lot of good
so anyway, this tornado hits the town. You think Glen Powell's gonna bite it, and I was like, I don't know. They kill everybody else in this movie. It's possible they kill Glen Powell here. I don't know.
And Anthony Ramos is with Superman, and he says like we got to go help them, and Superman's like no, our job is to get the data on these tornadoes. He's like I'm gonna get out in the back and get the device out
because that is like a very comedic thing where he gets Superman, David Cornsweet is who we're talking about, gets out of the car, goes to pull the radar thing out, and then gets sprayed with mud, and he's like ah. And I was like, "What?
Because that's the kind of movie it should be."
Where did the mud come
That's
from?
what he was on. He was on concrete.
He's on
he was?
the highway.
Oh,
He wasn't in the grass.
He didn't even pull off to the side of the road. He just stopped dead in the middle of the street, and then when he takes off, it hits him with mud.
See,
and I'm just like,
now we're not like a Hot Shots movie. See, this is what I want. I want total absurdity.
Yeah,
if we're
right.
gonna-
So they all show up at this town. The tornado hits. They're trying to get everybody off the streets.
Okay, the whole time they're like, okay, I'm gonna find the basement of the movie theater. You guys, direct people in here, okay? And then like 10 minutes later, I swear, like, okay, I'm gonna find the basement of the movie theater. And then the tornado's hitting. I guess they never found. The basement?
No, somebody does say it
ever
doesn't.
seen a movie theater with a basement?
No, but they sure were looking for it.
You would think that in a town like this, there would be shelters somewhere. Maybe. I don't know.
I thought it was weird. They were clearly looking for this basement that they thought existed, and then in the end, the tornado comes, and they're like, "Okay, get it down between these seats."
They do. Somebody does say I couldn't find the basement.
Oh,
There
did they
is
say that? Okay,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
missed that line because I'm like, they sure were focused on
No,
this
they do
basement.
say it somewhere.
And then they're like, we're in a
Yeah,
theater.
we're gonna die.
Okay.
So Kate takes off in the truck, and she ends up releasing the thing, the poly,
The Kraken?
The
Oh, remember that movie, guys? That's another
Did we do
WB
that?
movie.
did we cover that?
The sequel.
Yes.
The
That's real
Rise
bad.
of the Clash of the Titans. Whatever that
boy.
movie was. The Dawn of the Clash
boy.
of the
Wrath
Titans.
of the
The Wrath of
Wrath
the Titans.
of- yeah.
Oh,
Wrath of the
man,
Titans.
remember that was when 3D's real big? And
Yep.
they're like, we can...
That first one made a whole bunch of money.
It did.
Because it was the first 3D movie to come out after Avatar.
Yeah.
And so they up converted it and made a bunch of money, but it's a bad movie, and they made the mistake of thinking that people actually liked
the
it.
movie.
So they made another one,
Right.
and then nobody went.
That's when they were like, Sam Worthington? Oh, no, he's the biggest action star of all time. We're going to put him in every Terminator, Clash of the Titans. He's in.
Pair him with Ronda Rousey.
Oh, that is a winning combination.
Actually, it's funny. 'Cause isn't John McClane Jr. in Clash of the Titans?
Jai Courtney.
Jai Courtney?
I was just about to say, because I can't disconnect the two. I'm like, remember when they're like, we've got a guy. If you think Sam Worthington is a big deal,
Have we got a guy
we've got
for
a guy
you.
who is not Sam Worthington. I mean, he is the exact same archetype.
Yep.
Like of every movie, it's like, you can't get Sam Worthington.
Got this guy.
Get Jai Courtney.
Jai Courtney's in. He plays.
Boomerang and those.
He does, but he's also in one of the Terminators. He's John McClane. Not John McClane. I think he's.
No, Christian Bale is John Connor, but
Then he's Reese.
he's Reese.
That's what
Yep.
it is. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh boy.
That's Salvation.
What a cluster that franchise is.
Yeah.
Good
Speaking
Lord.
of James Cameron,
Yeah, no kidding.
properties, and Bill Paxton
And Bill
was in the
Paxton.
Terminator.
He was in Terminator
and
1.
Scene.
And does he get punched through the chest?
He tries to mug Schwarzenegger.
Yeah,
remember?
I think he gets punched in the chest.
Or is it's Schwarzenegger, right? It's not
yeah.
Reese. It's they go
No,
up to the
it's
Terminator.
Schwarzenegger.
He's the punk with the spiky hair.
Yeah. And then Arnold punches him through the chest. Yeah, so she gets this town is about to be obliterated. She gets the weird solution into the tornado, and it works. Like, it kills off the tornado. They have figured out how to defeat weather, apparently.
But meanwhile, Glen Powell gets trapped under like a something that falls. He gets
the
trapped
water
under it.
tower.
And then a water tower's collapsed. Me and Katie started busting out laughing because the Rube Goldberg series of events of like, oh, I'm trapped in a tornado's coming. Now a water tower's going to fall
I
on
thought
me. And it was the
they-
WB water tower? I
I
thought that was
know.
a really
And then
interesting...
they make-
Steamroller
yeah,
and
right.
a marching band.
I'm like, this is a Looney Tunes cartoon.
4 guys with a plate glass window walking across the street.
So then I did like this save though, because I'd kind of forgotten. Like I know Anthony Ramos bolted or whatever, and I do like to like we can't get out in time, and then he comes along and shoves.
I'm also
going
going to tell you the way he does that would never work.
it wouldn't.
No, he does not. So when he shoves it under there, you have to have something underneath, like to give you some sort of leverage. If you just push like a piece of like a stick,
Well, right, it must have been on top of something. To
there
get
wasn't.
the leverage.
There was nothing there.
He must have wedged. He had to wedge it in between something,
which is fine, but they
But-
don't show it at all.
But I
And
liked
then
the
he- yeah.
save of like he did come back. It is kind of a stereotypical
Yeah.
like guy comes out of nowhere, does the right thing, saves the day, but he comes back and then they limp into the movie theater, and then the whole thing is like she drives off
and she does it.
saves the day. It did work with
Yeah.
her new solution, and right
So
before
now
they
they
were all
have-
about to die.
Now they have a way to beat tornadoes.
Yeah, they fought. They killed the tornado.
They killed the
yeah.
tornado.
At that point, in that third act, I was like, okay, this is so silly that they're trying to fight the tornado,
Right.
but
And it's
it was
whatever.
fun enough. I
And-
mean, it was entertaining.
And then Glen Powell and Kate and whatever his name
Don't
is.
kiss at the end.
Don't kiss, which I thought was very
Did
interesting.
you see that? So this movie, when test screenings went to see it, they kissed,
Oh, really?
and it's like this is Glen Powell, the charismatic, sex appeal, whatever, like
Right.
right, and like, and why wouldn't you want the two of them to kiss? Like they filmed it, and there is a behind the scenes now where someone that was on set or whatever filmed it, so it's on Twitter. You can watch it. Like the two kiss at the airport, and then all the test screenings went through, and this movie comes out, and people are like, "I saw the scene they kissed. Why would you take that out?"
Paul Shear's in this movie?
Okay, that
Yeah.
was one.
That was weird.
They must have covered Twisters on how this get made. Like
They must have
why-
called her Twister.
I'm sorry, they must have covered Twister on
When-
how this
so,
get made, because
I'm
why
sitting
would
there,
he do
and
that?
I can see him off in the distance, and I was like, Man,
Oh,
that's weird.
Minari. I think they love Minari.
Okay.
Or something.
Well,
and
either way,
so
I
he
was
gave
like,
him a-
well, that's weird. Why that guy looks like Paul Shear? And then he has like lines.
Yeah.
And it was wild. I did not realize that Paul Shear was going to be in this movie. But actually, I do like her line. I think that's a good like romantic action movie line where she's like, if you want it, chase it. And she walks inside. And I do like that Anthony Ramos is like, are you kidding me? Like,
Okay, when Glen Powell puts the truck things down, like he would be arrested.
Yeah.
He's now a
Yeah, like-
terrorist,
yeah,
right?
Right, like that's
that pissed me off.
You have
That-
committed a federal crime.
And, and I know sometimes like the last movie Tom was getting mad at or whatever, like I can forgive a lot of things in a big action movie where they're fighting tornadoes.
Yeah, right,
But you
right.
cannot show up in an airport
Yeah.
and break the concrete. It's like you are
that's game over.
you-
That is game over, man.
So that was stupid, right?
Right.
You're gonna put that in the movie, but they can't kiss at the end.
Yeah.
I
Agreed.
don't know how test audiences didn't go. That was a little much.
I think you could get away with something like that if your movie is
In a comedy
it is
movie.
sillier.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, no, I hated it. That part took me out of. You just
it
can't
makes
do
him.
was
It makes him.
dumb.
It also makes him more of a douchebag.
Right. He
Yeah.
just ruined the ground. I was like, it's funny for him to leave the car there, and the guy's like, I'm going to give you a ticket or
gonna
something.
tow
right?
your
Like
car.
that's
Right.
that's
Yeah.
funny. You just do that. You don't put the thing in the ground and destroy the airport. Like I don't know.
Also, now you've got all kinds of other stuff. But I do like that line. Where
Was the after credits him getting arrested?
no, it was just them. It was honestly, it was just newspaper articles of them
okay.
like chasing storms. Like that's what it was.
No, there's a scene, I guess, where they go back to the farm and like
Oh.
Maura Tierney's there, and they're like basically the three of them have started a tornado chasing business together.
Twisters.
I gotta tell you, I
liked.
liked the when they're leaving the farm and he gives her a T-shirt and she was just like,
That was funny.
I
she's
think
holding
Maura
it up
Tierney
like-
also is very funny. I think
Yeah.
she is underratedly funny.
I know you like to say her name.
I do like saying her name. It's
fun.
Moira is a great name.
Moira.
That's a great name.
It's fun.
But she's another actress where I was like, man, now she's playing like old moms, and
just how it
is
goes,
what it
man.
is.
We
Like,
all grow up.
She was on ER. She was on, she was on Liar Liar. She was the wife in Liar Liar.
Yeah, it's just like what were we talking about? Urban Legend or something?
Alicia
Or-
Witt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
where it's just like,
That's
that's
wild.
the role. Yeah,
it's wild. Yeah, this was like aggressively average.
I think it's entertaining, but not in a way where like the original was that big dumb fun. I think
Yeah.
they were trying to make it a little bit too I hate to say it, I love art house movies and I love good summer blockbusters. And to me, the combination of the two just did not meld right.
The only time an art house action movie has worked was Logan.
Right,
like,
so that's a good example of
Logan is like a good art house,
very
action,
artsy, but right,
very like character driven, but also
it's a Wolverine movie, right? No, that's a great example, seriously, of how you know. And to me, I know I'm alone here. I really like whatever that movie is. I can't think of the movie.
Eternals?
The Eternals. Thank you. I was going to say Elemental. That's not the right movie. I really like The Eternals, and that's Chloe Zhao doing that kind of slow burn, contemplative movie with superheroes. For me, it worked, but I think this is the bad version of that, to me at least.
You love that movie that nobody has referenced. There's a giant fucking celestial
I know.
in that movie.
It's so sad,
and we've had like what?
At one point
movies?
it was happening. Eternals 2 is happening, but who knows what they're doing at this point?
Nobody knows.
I think Deadpool is going to
This is going to
determine
if depending on what it does, this Deadpool will determine where
the
we
rest
go.
of the
Let's go around the table and everyone can say where to find.
This is Joe. You can follow me on the Twitter at JoeyButts, BUTTS21, also on Letterboxd at the same.
This is Kevin. Follow me on Twitter at Kevin R. Brackett.
This is Tom. You can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online at facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group. And, of course, don't forget our Patreon, where for $5 a month, you get all sorts of bonus content, and we like you extra. So anyway, that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, there's no place like home.
Get ready for a